Your WavyOcho, I'm gonna react to how Ian Garry became the most disliked UFC fighter in UFC.
Garry is quickly becoming public enemy #1. This weekend, the champ and very wise Sean Strickland called out Ian and Layla Machado Garry's relationship in a series of shirtless car videos on Instagram, claiming Layla is taking advantage of Ian and his early success, and continues to claim that he's just trying to help out Ian and he's trying to save him from the quote succubus.
This shit ain't right, dude. She's a succubus.
And this started an absolute wildfire that we'll get into shortly. But if we zoom out into Ian Garry's entire career, it's very interesting in that Ian Garry quickly went from a promising young prospect to public enemy #1 in just a matter of months. So what happened? Today we're going to go through the entire timeline of Ian Machado Garry's declining likability and what went wrong. But before this video begins, I do know that Layla Machado Garry, you're probably watching, possibly Ian as well. I'm not trying to spread hate. I'm not trying to stir up any controversy. I'm just trying to discover how we got to this situation and how things went from 0 to 100 very, very quick.
0 to 100, nigga, real quick.
Before this wildfire, Ian Garry was
And worse of Drake.
simply an exciting young prospect from Ireland that was a KO machine in Cage Warriors. I wonder where we've seen that before. Ian burst onto the UFC scene with a KO performance over Jordan Williams back in 2021, the last couple seconds of their first round via a nasty pull counter with the right hand, followed by a couple more. This would start his current undefeated run, with him getting 2 more decision wins, then followed by a big win over Song Kenan that was a striking masterclass throughout and was capped off by a series of punches and an eventual win. But what I really think set off the hype train for Ian was his performance over Daniel Rodriguez, where he landed a huge right head kick and followed it up with a beat.
Damn, that head kick looked nasty though. It was wild nasty.
Down on the ground, which would get him ranked top 15. So now we have a young, elite Irish striker with a couple electric KO performances in an undefeated career. What could possibly go wrong with that combination? So with his new ranking, Ian Garry got his chance to face veteran Neil Magny, but before we talk about the actual fight, let's talk about the buildup. I don't know if Ian Garry was trying to go for the heel on purpose, but he created some animosity between him and Neil Magny at a seemingly nowhere in one of the first press conferences of UFC 292 ahead of their fight. And I think this particular embedded episode really reflects the shift in likability for Ian Garry. Ian doesn't really say anything that's out of the ordinary for young up-and-coming fighters that are facing veterans, like saying his opponent won't be able to deal with his speed and his youth and this new generation of fighters, but I think it's the way Ian said it in the press conference and the interviews he did in this embedded video that really set everybody off. In the press conference, it just seemed like he was trying way too hard to be Conor, and in a later press conference, he even dropped.
As you know, he's Irish, Conor's Irish, Ian's Irish, so you know, got that Irish blood on them.
You'll do what you're told. And in the interview in this episode, he was talking about the quote game and the quote thirst of knowledge, like he was a seasoned vet, and again just seemed very disingenuous. It's strange when we listen to guys like Ian Garry or even Israel Adesanya on the mic try to be the heel, and I can't really put my finger on exactly why they seem disingenuous or trying too hard, but we can all feel when they start doing so. Anyways, Ian Garry would make himself even more unlikable when he made a stretch of a claim about Neil Magny, claiming he is a child abuser, because Neil Magny said in a press conference, "There's a whooping that you would give your son now to kind of teach him life a little bit. Being a father, I've been quite accustomed to that kind of whooping now, and that's what I'm looking forward to giving on Saturday." And Ian would stretch the shit out of this little quote.
Beating your child is not cool to brag about at a press conference. Wow. Violated.
Ian Garry tweeted his reaction to this clip and tried to frame Neil Magny as a child beater and doubled down on this take at a press conference, but I don't think that label really stuck for Neil. And I don't think I have to explain this, but I'm like 99% certain Neil Magny doesn't actually beat his kids. At least I hope. With this basically artificial bad blood coming into the fight, I think most fans were now on Neil Magny's side and were hoping for the upset, but it never came. Ian beat him up with nasty calf kicks and just good striking all around, and maybe Ian would have saved himself if he just buried the hatchet after this fight, but he continued his tomfoolery with
damn, flipped him off. Like, He flipped the nigga off, bro. That's no good sportsman. No good sportsmanship.
Flipping off Neil Magny and talking shit again for no reason when the fight ended. There was really no actual beef between the two, and Ian tried to artificially paint Neil as the bad guy and in turn made himself out to be the bad guy, and I think this really overshadowed the great striking performance he had in this fight. Now we move on to strike 2. Ian Garry early last month revealed that he was no longer welcomed to Team Renegade, which is Leon Edwards' gym. Originally, Ian Garry came out with his side of the story, first claiming that he was no longer welcome because, quote, Leon doesn't want any insecurities or doubts on his own gym, insinuating that he, Ian Garry, was so good that he was making the champ a guy on an insane win streak and is coming off of defending his title against Kamaru Usman. He made that guy insecure. Sure, bro. And obviously Leon would respond saying, quote, I think everyone knows that's bullshit. I'm on top of my game. Basically, the gym decided that he just wasn't fitting for the gym. We're just too different. The culture in our gym, he's like a talker, a social media guy, brings his cameras everywhere. He's late to sessions. It's like two different cultures to what we have in our gym. The guys decided, not because of me. Team Renegade would also release an official statement to the Independent saying sometimes the coaches allow fighters to come in from the outside, but this is very much a privilege and not the norm. If the coaches feel it's not adding to the team's culture, a fighter is refused entrance. Ian Garry's more nomadic approach to preparation has given him great results, but it's not in line with what we are creating at Team Renegade. This has nothing to do with one specific fighter or a specific coach, which basically reiterated what Leon said about Ian not aligning with the culture, and he was basically out a lot. Side note, even Patty got into the action, recalling that Ian was knocked out by Leon in sparring and doesn't deserve a title shot in the near future. And that's not all. Apparently this situation would also bring up the fact that Ian was also kicked out of another gym when he was still with Cage Warriors. Team KF had released a statement right after Ian Garry's last Cage Warriors fight, insinuating Ian Garry no longer abided by the gym's values of loyalty, honor, and respect. And Ian Garry became uncoachable after he hired a new manager and after repeated warnings was no longer welcome in the club. This reminds me of that one saying/story of your friend telling you that he's always had bad roommates and has always been kicked out of every apartment he's been in, and it makes you wonder when he will realize that he's the bad roommate. Then we get into strike 3. Sean Strickland went to war with Layla Machado Garry, who is Ian Machado Garry's wife, and Sean is the last guy you want to go to war with. Sean Strickland, in a series of Instagram videos, started claiming that Layla is a succubus and has manipulated Ian Garry in a gold-digging type relationship where she is in control. Then Sean would ultimately frame these videos as trying to save Ian Garry rather than attack him, and thus the hashtag #SaveIanGarry movement was born. It got to the point where Layla and Ian threatened legal action against Sean and made claims of defamation. Though I think this claim really started with Red Pill MMA and then was really blown up by MMA Guru, so shout out them. And if you want a more in-depth video on the matter, check out their videos. But right now, I will just simply present the facts that were gathered from their videos and make of it what you will. Fact: Ian Garry did indeed take Layla's last name, and they combined their last name to be Machado Garry. To the Machado Garry's credit, this was to give their children the same last name, according to Ian and Layla. Fact: Layla Machado Garry did indeed write a book on how to be a wag, which stands for wife and girlfriend, or essentially is a term for a gold digger that preys on younger athletes and entraps them and
They must be married, you feel me?
manipulates their victims into basically setting themselves up for retirement. To Layla's credit, she has responded and said that this was out of satire, and she was covering the World Cup at the time in 2010, and they were making a satire look on the wives of girlfriends in football or soccer. Fact: Layla Machado Garry is 40 years old, and Ian Garry is 26.
Damn, Ian's young, bro. He's young. He's dating a cool guy. And he's only 2 years older than me. I'm 24, he's 26.
To Layla's credit, and mostly Ian's, I do like older women too. Fact: Richard Cullen, Layla's ex.
There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I like me some older women.
husband is Ian Garry's nutritionist and has been since 2021, put Ian Garry on a vegan diet. And this is in fact, this is just a rumor, but many people have claimed that Richard Cullen has lived with the Machado Garrys, though Layla has since denied that on social media. But there's still no spinning that the ex-husband is Ian Garry's nutritionist and did put him on a vegan diet. Besides the ex-husband one, all of these facts have some rhyme or reason for why they are the way they are, but in tandem, this really looks bad for Ian Garry and his relationship with Layla. And I agree with Chael and everyone else, this upcoming press conference is going to be a massacre for Ian. With Leon, Colby, and Patty there, and the fans not on his side, Ian is looking down the barrel of a verbal shotgun. But again, this situation with Ian Garry is very interesting in that he's only 6-0 in the UFC.
Damn, he's undefeated.
He's only 26 years old, and we were just starting to know him and just starting to see how exciting of a prospect he is. And he does a bunch of these things within the span of basically this year and has become one of the most disliked fighters in the UFC. Anyways, what do you guys...
Okay, that's the vid. Let me know what y'all think about Ian or like Garry, bro. How's he in the UFC, bro? Like, how's it? Does his shit work? Is it just nice? Let me know, bro. Is Ian Garry your favorite fighter? Let me know, because I haven't keep up with UFC. I don't keep up with UFC at all. So yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, y'all know the vibes. What would you know you are.